Hey there, we're the Huge Movie Fanatics, and we are going to discuss the latter half of the Halloween franchise. We are on Halloween 7 and 8, respectively. We're going to start with Halloween H2O, or a lot of my friends thought it was Halloween Water for the longest time.
For real or joking?
Yeah, I have friends that honestly thought it was like, why is this called Halloween Water? Is it going to be involved with like drowning or something? And I was like, wow, okay. But anyways, so Halloween H2O, this was Kevin Williamson, mastermind behind Scream. He went in and he wanted to produce his version of Halloween and try to get people back for 20 years on the anniversary of the first movie. And he was pretty much successful. His story was used, his script wasn't, because I think he was in development on Killing Mrs. Tingle at the time, and that's why he didn't write it. But they did use his story, and they brought in, who was the director? He was didn't he do Friday the 13th
Part
2 and 3?
Yeah, 2 and 3, Steve Miner.
And I'm not a fan of those movies, but I thought the direction in those movies was fantastic. And I think the direction in Halloween H2O is very fantastic. Halloween H2O, I think, is probably the best of the Halloween sequels. Hands down, without question.
I thought you just said 5?
Up
until that point, yeah. Excuse me.
Halloween H2O is the best of the sequels all the way through. It's the one I think stands pretty almost shoulder to shoulder with the first one. Ignored the whole stupid backstory given in Halloween 2. But the backstory that they gave in Halloween H2O kind of was interesting, where they decided to make him be a killer for the person on their 18th birthday, the person in the next line of lineage. So it's his sister Judith he kills when she's 18, supposedly on or near her birthday. Then Jamie Lee Curtis, on or near her birthday, he tries to kill her when she is also 18. Now she, 20 years later, has a child who's just turning 18, played by Josh Hartnett, who is quite good in the movie. I think that was his first movie. And he's gone on to do some alright movies. He's
kind of gone on to go up, and then as far as whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. I did like the faculty see it. But it also has Michelle Williams in it, and she is a fantastic actress. She's gone on to win an Academy Award for Best Actress. And there's a handful of other fine performances in it, but the one that really matters is Jamie Lee Curtis is back as Laurie Strode. And she is terrific in it, and she brings a haunted performance that wasn't there in the first two movies.
Yeah.
That I think really, really works for it. And the showdown between her and Michael is astonishing. It's just really, really cool. And I like the when Michael Myers is chasing after Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams, and they're backed up against the wall, and Michael has the knife swinging like just an inch in front of Michelle Williams' face, and she's just screaming and crying like, that's great. And then the door opens and Jamie's there and she slams it shut, and then you see the two face to face again.
His face comes up to the window.
Yeah, and
like,
so they're face to face for the first time in 20 years, and that was just epic. That was so cool at the time. And Cool J had a cool little performance in it. It was pretty laughably bad, but I was kind of entertaining. I was rooting for him. There are certainly flaws in the movie, but the opening scene is really cool too, with the nod to Donald Pleasance and having the nurse back from the first movie.
The first two, yeah.
From the first two movies, back reprising her role, and Michael.
As the nurse. I thought that was very cool too.
Michael haunts her, and then there's a cool little cameo. First person to be killed in the movie, spoiler alert, is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's gone on to star in Inception and various other movies. It's going to be the new Batman movie. So I mean, there's a lot to be said about Halloween H2O that I think was really successful, and I think they finally and definitively killed off Michael Myers the best they could in Halloween H2O, which was great. They kind of ruined it later, but they killed him the best way they possibly could. And I'd give it a really, really strong 3 stars, teetering on 3.5 had it not been for the kind of bogus backstory that was almost necessary because they were trying to keep in continuity with the other ones. That said, they did completely ignore the fact that she has a daughter in the fourth and fifth one, like they just
Oh,
ignored
yeah,
that.
yeah, they
plot
ignore
line.
4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, they
don't
completely ignore it.
Which is
but
good, I
probably
thought,
for the best.
for the best. But you're right. I mean, there's no way they could have ignored 2
Yeah.
in that, because you can't use 2 and then not use the stupid brother sister
Yeah,
thing in
exactly.
it.
So it's either
unfortunately-
ignore 2 or
Yeah, which you can't
keep
really
in.
do. Yeah.
I think that would have upset too many people, so they
Yeah,
had to do
you're
it.
right.
So working with that, the movie works, and I think it's one of the best movies.
Yeah, one thing that I was very happy with, by the time it came out, in a way I didn't really care so much about, I wasn't so much of a hardcore fan like I had been about Michael Myers, but I instantly recognized the fact that for the first time since the second one, Michael Myers was presented in a much more subtle background way again, and I'm like, whoa, he's not Jason Voorhees anymore, this is,
Yeah.
they're doing it right, and that was very cool.
Of course, there's that excellent scene where he doesn't even kill the woman.
In the bathroom?
Yeah, in the bathroom, which
Right.
is so fantastic, and
Isn't
that was
it-
so Michael Myers from the first movie.
Yeah, oh, totally.
That was brilliant, beautiful, loved it.
Yeah, I
Keep
know.
going, sorry.
What was I
Subtle.
talking
You were
about?
talking
Yeah,
about the subtlety of.
subtle Michael Myers, and that was something that I had, going into H2O, I completely abandoned all hope on it. And there it was again. I'm like, whoa, very cool. And I liked the beginning with the suburban Joseph Levitt and all that stuff, and the nurse. I thought that was a really creepy and cool beginning, and because the rest of the movie takes place at that school, to actually have a little bit, because let's face it, Halloween kind of is a suburban. I mean, the first one takes place in the suburbs, so it's very important for me. I just think that that's such a great spot for Halloween to take place. So I like the fact that the beginning of it had a little bit take place, the first scene in the suburbs, and it's interesting how they actually take that song from Halloween 2, and I still have no idea why the hell that song is in Halloween 2, the Mr. Sandman. Why the hell is that in there? But it's interesting that they took that song for H2O and had I remember the first shot, the knife comes up, doesn't it, and then cuts the pumpkin.
Improper way to cut a pumpkin, by the way, just letting you know that's not how you do it.
Yeah, don't do it that way, but I still don't know.
You gotta admit, every time you hear that song, you immediately think of
I think of
Halloween.
Halloween too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like I say, I don't. When I was 12, it was perfect. I thought that the song went so well, but again, and when I got older, I'm like, why is that song?
It doesn't make sense, but it's fantastic. I love it. That's the one thing I didn't mention it in 2, but I loved it, and I will mention it now that it works opening this one because it brings you back to. It tells you right there that this follows 2.
Well, that's what I thought was so great about it. Without saying anything, this says H2O is a sequel to Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just by simply putting a song in there, it was a brilliant way to say that.
Yep.
So I'll just go. I'm not trying to. I swear I'm not copying his stars, but I think I got to go 3 as well. I think you're right that it is the best sequel to Halloween, the first one.
Yeah.
And if only it could be the sequel to Halloween somehow.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect situation. And I think they definitely did end it, didn't they? As a kind of a. Of course, it just doesn't happen anymore in horror movies. You don't really end them anymore. But they really wanted to. You can tell they really wanted to end it, and I was happy, but since it was such a good movie, I was kind of sad at the same time because I thought, like an idiot I was, that it was gonna be the end.
There can be no possible way to resurrect this character.
Yeah, you can't do it unless you
Cut to 5 years later. There's Halloween Resurrection.
Unless Michael puts his costume and mask on some other guy before his head gets cut
I will
off.
say that was kind of a clever move. I didn't see it coming. I was wondering how they were gonna address that, or if they were just gonna ignore it.
The only thing that's so ridiculous is if you look at Halloween H2O in context to that, why is that van driver he acts like Michael?
Yeah. It was kind of genius. I will say that it was kind of genius way for them to address the situation. Well, he just squeezes his voice box so he can't talk anymore, and he puts the helmet on the guy.